What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Gear Garden. This week we are in beautiful Oregon and we are checking out the Tarptent Dipole DW1. Alright, so one of the things I think is really special about this tent, which I find special about the Durston X-Mid as well, is that this actually is a double wall tent. So that's a big factor when it comes to, at least for me, when it comes to backpacking, because especially if you're in moist places, I really like that double wall to help you get less condensation on all of your things. Another pro of this tent that I really like is that it is so poly. Most of my backpacking trekking pole tents are so poly, so they do have that quick dry factor, as well as the ease of setup. The first thing to set this tent up is you just stake out all four corners, try and make it geometrically shaped, if you will, like a rectangle, kind of just like setting up the Durston. And then you put these little bad boy poles up right here, tighten these down, and then you can put trekking poles in either way. You can put tip up or down, and that's pretty much it. And then you kind of just tension the tent out all the way around until it's got all the sides nice and equal. Kind of got a sketchy pitch going right now because we're on kind of a slope with a lot of holes in the ground, so it's the best I could do for up here, but it's a very easy setup. This tent in total weighs a little over 32 ounces with everything, which I believe is about 2 pounds, a little more, which you take a weight penalty if you're trying to go super ultralight with a tent like this, but what the perks are, I feel like outweigh that extra weight penalty. It's got these 18-inch foldable poles on the sides, which are really clutch because they give you a little more headroom, because at each end of the tent, it's pulling up. That way when you're in, you're not just like this and your head hits it, it's got a pull out. So you have way more headroom inside of there, and it makes it really comfortable to sit up easier. Another thing I really like about these 18-inch poles on the ends is that there is a zipper. I'll throw it up on the screen right now, so you get extra ventilation. You have the option to zip it up, fold it over the pole. That way you have more airflow at the head and feet, or you can choose. This tent does have double vestibules, which is fairly uncommon for a lot of one-person backpacking tents. But one thing that's really nice about it is that you can actually roll back both the doors. They have magnetic holders on both sides, and you can just get a huge airflow through the tent. And you can also just have a better view of a place like this when you're actually backpacking in the backcountry, and it looks way cooler to have that open. Another pro of this tent is that it's got a 43-inch height, which is super clutch because it's not like a teepee style in the middle. It's very high and it's very open. It's got a really broad ceiling. It also has a different kind of floor. It's traditionally, I feel like a lot of tents are tapered or rectangle. This is like a different kind of taper. It's like an hourglass taper. At the head end, I believe it's 36 inches as well as the foot end, but it tapers to 28 in the middle. So you got this kind of shape, which at first I was like, that's weird. But one thing I ended up liking about it was that I have more room for things at my head and my feet as opposed to putting everything at my head or everything at my feet. This tent also's got 4 corner pockets, which they're actually not too bad. I think the only downside is that based on where they are, they're on the side walls, so they can kind of pull in the tent walls a little bit if you put too much stuff in there. But I think if you just put like basic stuff like your headlamp or your watch, your phone, keys, basic things like that, it shouldn't be too heavy of an issue to pull down the tent, but that is a concern that I do have. The floor length of this tent is 84 inches, so you have no issue fitting a tall or wide pad in here as well. I've put my 25-inch wide pad in here, and I still have a little extra room on both sides. It will be a little bit more snug, like I said, because of the hourglass taper. But like I said, that gives you more head and foot space, so I do appreciate that. It does have dual vestibules, like I mentioned before, which is a pro. The vestibules, I will say, are not humongous inside, but like I said, you have extra room at your head and feet. So any gear that you might keep outside, you technically have room, especially with like a frameless pack or just a smaller pack in general. So I don't think the vestibules not being humongous like a Durston or a Gossamer gear is the end of the world. It also makes for the tent to have a smaller footprint. Therefore, you can fit this tent in easier places than you could one of those other competitors. This tent also has a 6-inch bathtub floor, which I find, a little bit more helpful, especially with the tent wall being mesh. And it does have the option to set up without this rainfly, or I can set it up with just the rainfly and use it as a tarp shelter, which I really enjoy the dual purpose tents like this. One thing that I really like is that this tent is local to my area too. I'm from the Sacramento region, and I know that this tent and the company is in Nevada City, which is not too far away. So I'm also supporting a local brand, which I find really awesome. So I definitely recommend you guys check out the Tarp tents. They have so many different tents, so many creative models, and I feel like they're just going to continue expanding. So I really recommend their products. Thanks again, guys, for watching the Gear Garden. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends, and check out the Tarptent Dipole DW1.